In December of 1994, 22-year-old LaTonya Roberts disappeared without warning. She was absolutely full of life, a recent college graduate with big plans for her future. But behind her smile was complete fear. Not long before she went missing, something happened to her that left her deeply afraid. Her boyfriend, unnamed publicly still to this day, remains the main person of interest, but decades later, her case is still unsolved. Her family, though, all of these years later, continues to fight for answers and for the truth to finally come to light. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Gabby, and every single week here on my channel, I sit down and I talk about a different true crime case. And pretty much all the cases that I cover are 20 years or older. So if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe go down below, click the subscribe button, and also make sure to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. Today we're diving into a disappearance case out of 1994, and this is definitely a case that is not talked about enough. This is a case that I've wanted to cover for some time now, and I was recently on medium.com and I saw that Michelle Short, a researcher who I've worked with before for some cases here on my channel, covered it, and I reached out to her and asked her if she would want to collaborate on this video, and of course she said yes, and I'm very thankful because she did some incredible research. If you want to check out Michelle's write-up for LaTonya's case, along with many other true crime write-ups of hers as well, I will have her Medium page linked down below in the description of this video. With all of that being said, this is the unsolved disappearance of LaTonya Roberts. LaTonya Dion Roberts, one of 6 children, was born on October 10th of 1972 in Broward County, Florida, to Ernestine and Virgil Roberts. From an early age, LaTonya stood out for her lively personality, sharp mind, and warm, cheerful nature. She had a way of lighting up a room with her smile and was known for her kind heart and sense of humor. The Roberts family was close-knit and deeply supportive of one another. Faith played a central role in their lives. They were devoted members of the fire-baptized Holiness Church, where Virgil served as a preacher. The church community was like an extended family, and LaTonya was deeply involved in it. She sang in the choir and was known for her beautiful and soulful voice, a talent that often moved those who heard her sing. It wasn't only LaTonya with a beautiful voice, though. Her sisters Lolita and Leslie also sang in the church choir. Today, they still sing, but it's bittersweet because they're singing without LaTonya. Driven and focused, LaTonya pursued her education after high school and eventually earned a college degree. Her hard work paid off when she landed a position as a medical assistant at PCA Medical Center in Orlando. It was a job she took pride in, allowing her to combine her skills and compassion to help others on a daily basis. LaTonya was extremely goal-driven and had her entire life ahead of her, but all of that came to an end in mid-December of 1994. On the evening of Friday, December 16th, 1994, one of LaTonya's sisters, Lolita, was scheduled to perform the national anthem at an Oak Ridge High School basketball game. As always, LaTonya showed her unwavering support for her family by attending the event. She listened proudly as her sister sang in front of the crowd, but shortly afterward, she received a page from her boyfriend, and she decided to head to a nearby payphone and call him back. It's unknown exactly what was said on the phone, but soon after, she informed her sister she was going to leave a little bit early from the game and left. Later that night, LaTonya paged her sister. Lolita phoned her back, and LaTonya mentioned seeing a movie, and then she asked her if she wanted to go to Heroes, a well-known local nightclub located in the 400 block of West Kennedy Boulevard in Edenville, Florida. Lolita recalls LaTonya's exact words to her were, "Do you want to go and hang out with me at Heroes?" Although tempted, Lolita wasn't in the mood to go out that night and politely turned down the invitation. During this phone call, though, Lolita briefly overheard the voice of LaTonya's boyfriend in the background. His tone suggested irritation or suspicion as he asked LaTonya who she was talking to.
She was like, "You want to go and hang out with me at Heroes?" When she said that, the boyfriend was in the background, and he asked her, in a violent way, like, who are you talking to, and she was like, "This is my sister."
There was a short pause after that, and LaTonya said at that moment she was getting ready to head out for the night. With that, she told Lolita that she would talk to her later, and the call came to an end. Now, LaTonya was 22 years old, but she was still living at her family's home at this time, but on that particular weekend, her parents were out of town attending a missionary event. They weren't expected to return until the following day, so no one was at the house to see whether or not she made it back that night. With no eyewitnesses and no confirmed sightings of her returning home, it remains uncertain if she ever did. Most, though, believe she did not. As the hours turned into days and LaTonya failed to come home or contact anyone in her family, concern quickly began to grow. It was completely out of character for her to go silent, especially without letting anyone know where she was or when she'd be back. By the end of the weekend, her loved ones were deeply worried. They knew that something wasn't right. LaTonya's family obviously reached out to LaTonya's boyfriend, hoping he might have some answers. However, he claimed he had no idea where she could be and said he hadn't seen her since Friday night. With growing concern and no solid leads, the Roberts family decided to take matters into their own hands. They began searching for her on their own while also filing a missing persons report with the local police.
There's no reason for her to leave home because she has a good home.
I'm just wondering, will I ever see her again, really?
Not long after that, LaTonya's father, Virgil, made a discovery that only deepened the mystery. He located LaTonya's 1988 Toyota Corolla parked near Heroes, the nightclub she had mentioned going to that Friday night. The strange thing is that the car was locked and its alarm was still armed, but one of the tires was flat. While there was no obvious signs of a struggle or foul play, something about the vehicle didn't sit right with those who knew her. The way it was left, secure yet strangely abandoned, raised unsettling questions. Many began to wonder if it was LaTonya herself who had been the one to even park it there at all. Lolita said, "My sister was 4'11". She was very short. All of us are very short. She drove with a cushion in the seat of the car. When they found the car, the cushion was in the passenger seat and the driver's seat was pulled all the way back. So that gave an indication to us our sister did not drive that car up there." Upon closer inspection of the Toyota Corolla, something seemed off. The driver's seat was pushed back farther than LaTonya would have ever needed it to be. It appeared as if someone significantly taller than her had been behind the wheel. Those familiar with her driving habits immediately noticed the discrepancy. LaTonya was petite and always kept the seat pulled close to the steering wheel for comfort and, of course, better control of the vehicle. This detail might have seemed minor to an outsider, but to her family, it was a complete red flag. They couldn't shake the feeling that someone else had driven the car and left it there, someone who didn't bother to adjust the seat back to her usual position. And in their minds, there was one person who immediately came to mind, someone tall enough to fit that profile and someone who had been close to LaTonya in those final hours. Her family believed they already knew who that person was. It's uncertain exactly how long LaTonya had been involved with her boyfriend. Some sources refer to him as just her friend, but what is known paints a troubling picture. Her personal diary entries revealed a relationship filled with emotional turmoil and at times physical abuse. In her own words, she described moments of fear, manipulation, and control, signs that made it painfully clear this was not a healthy or safe connection. One particularly disturbing incident stood out, something she had confided in one of her sisters just a month before she disappeared. In that unsettling account, LaTonya said that her boyfriend had suddenly woken her up in the middle of the night, insisting she come with him for a drive. The demand came without explanation, and though she was confused and frightened, she felt pressured to comply. LaTonya told her sister that on that night, he took her to a remote citrus grove in Polk County, a place far from any homes or lights. Once there, he allegedly pulled out a gun and ordered her to walk a few steps ahead of him. She complied, terrified, until he told her to stop next to a shallow hole in the ground, one that he appeared to have dug himself. He told her to get in the hole in the ground. She did, and he delivered a chilling warning. He told her that if she ever crossed him again or made him angry, he would kill her and bury her there, where no one would ever find her body. This incident, along with the contents of her diary, led her family to grow increasingly concerned about the nature of the relationship, concerns that would only intensify after she vanished. LaTonya and her boyfriend reportedly had been arguing in the days leading up to this incident, though the exact cause of the conflict remains unknown. After making the threat, though, he drove her home without further incident, and for a time, things seemed to calm down, but the damage had already been done. LaTonya was shaken and deeply affected by the experience. According to LaTonya's family, she had begun seeing a therapist in the aftermath of that night, an attempt to cope with the trauma and fear she now carried. Despite LaTonya and this boyfriend living separately, they continued to see each other, and she continued to visit his home often, suggesting that the relationship still held a powerful and possibly dangerous grip on her. With any case that I cover on my channel where the topic of domestic violence is brought up, there are always, and I expect this, comments of people asking why the person did not just leave. I will say this until the day that I stop breathing. Until you're in a situation like that and you experience that type of fear, isolation, and manipulation, you truly will never understand it. LaTonya mentioned fear and manipulation in her diary, so we can only assume that those are the two main things that she was experiencing at this time. Of course, we do not know this for sure because she is not here to tell her story, but chances are in the time leading up to her disappearance, whether this person was responsible for her disappearance or not, she was probably doing whatever she could to keep them at a normal emotional level so they didn't do anything to her. Foul play was and is strongly suspected in her disappearance, especially given the nature of that threat and the toxic relationship that had preceded it. But investigators faced a major hurdle. They were unable to uncover any forensic evidence linking him or anyone else to a crime. They didn't even have any evidence that a crime took place. Frustratingly, LaTonya had never written about the incident in her diary, nor had she reported it to police. Without her words on record or any physical proof, authorities had little to go on, despite the growing suspicion that something terrible had happened to her. For his part, LaTonya's boyfriend insisted he had no idea where she was. He claimed he hadn't seen her since the night she vanished and denied having any involvement in her disappearance. When questioned further, he quickly shut down, refusing to cooperate with investigators beyond his initial statements. He declined to answer additional questions or assist in the search efforts, which only deepened suspicions surrounding him.
At any point, was he a suspect or person of interest?
He was a person of interest identified very early on by the original detectives who investigated this case.
But not enough evidence to charge him with Roberts' disappearance.
In the days that followed, law enforcement launched a wide-scale search operation, concentrating their efforts on rural areas throughout Polk County. Special attention was given to, of course, citrus groves, given the disturbing story that LaTonya had shared. Officers combed through fields, wooded areas, and isolated back roads, hoping to uncover even the smallest clue. But the terrain was vast, and without a specific location to focus on, the search quickly began to feel overwhelming, like looking for a needle in a haystack. Despite their best efforts, authorities were unable to find any physical evidence or trace of the 22-year-old. She had seemingly vanished without a trace, leaving her family desperate for answers and investigators frustrated by the lack of leads. Investigators spoke with employees and customers at Heroes nightclub, hoping to find anyone who might have seen LaTonya on the night that she disappeared. Yet, surprisingly, no one recalled seeing her there at all. This absence of eyewitnesses raised an unsettling question. Had she ever actually made it to Heroes that night? Without any confirmed sightings or accounts, detectives found themselves with no solid leads to piece together how or with whom she had spent the rest of the evening. Given the troubled history between LaTonya and her boyfriend, he was an obvious person of interest and still is a person of interest today, even though they are not currently looking into him. His past abusive behavior made him a prime suspect in the minds of both the family and law enforcement. However, like I stated before, despite their suspicions, authorities felt they lacked the concrete evidence necessary to press charges or hold him for extended questioning. Without solid proof linking him directly to LaTonya's disappearance, they were forced to proceed cautiously. Without that solid proof, without that physical evidence to guide them, the investigation into LaTonya's disappearance gradually went cold. Despite the lack of new leads, her family refused to give up hope. They worked tirelessly to keep her story alive, reaching out to the community, asking people if anyone had seen anything at all, sharing her case with local groups, and hoping that someone somewhere might remember something that could finally bring some sort of answers. Yet, over the years, LaTonya's case has largely been overlooked by the media, receiving far less attention than many other missing persons cases. This lack of coverage only added to the family's frustration and pain. It's hard, her father admitted with a heavy heart. It's very hard. Every day feels like we're sitting on the edge of our seats, waiting for any kind of news. Even the smallest clue could make a difference. Her sister Lolita shared the same anguish, her voice filled with sorrow. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. To have a family member go missing and to live with not knowing where they are or what happened to them, it's a pain that never goes away. Their words capture the ongoing struggle of families who feel like they're left behind, caught between hope and heartbreak, desperate for closure in the face of what feels like complete silence. In 2020, Sergeant Gloria Morris of the Orange County Sheriff's Department started looking over the case again with a fresh set of eyes and interviewing people all over again. Still, no one from Heroes remembered seeing LaTonya that night, and when asked whether there was a reason to believe there was foul play in LaTonya's case, Sergeant Morris replied, "I believe so, yes. Just listening to this family, knowing the history and the habits of this young lady, she is not someone who would have driven away or walked away." Still to this day, over 3 decades later, her loved ones still hold hope for answers, some sort of resolution, anything. Cases like this are so devastatingly frustrating because, yes, of course, something could have possibly happened to her on her way to the nightclub, but with her boyfriend's history of abuse, the threats, the fact they had been together that night, and how little he was willing to cooperate, there is a solid reason that most look at him. I'm sure that many of you have heard this before, but take an abuser's threats seriously because most of the time it's not just a threat, it's a promise. LaTonya is an African-American woman with black hair and brown eyes. If she were alive today, she would be 52 years old. She may use the nickname Tanya or the middle names Diane and or Dion, spelled D-I-O-N, instead of the way her middle name is actually spelled, which is D-I-O-N-N-E. Her hair was in braids at the time of her disappearance, and her ears are pierced. She was last seen wearing a black leather jacket, fuchsia flower printed shirt, purple stretchy pants, black boots, and possibly an Oak Ridge High School class ring. She also may have been carrying a beige or brown Dooney and Burke purse. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of LaTonya Roberts, you are urged to call Crimeline at 1-800-423-TIPS, which is 1-800-423-8477. I want to thank you all, though, for taking a little bit of time out of your day to hear about LaTonya's case. My heart truly does go out to her loved ones, and I hope that they can eventually gain some sort of peace and closure in this heartbreaking loss that they've been enduring for over 30 years now. Send a little bit of kindness and love their way in the comments of today's video if you do want to write a comment down below. And if there are any other cases that you possibly want me to cover here on my channel, make sure to send those requests over to gabulosiscaserequests@gmail.com. I hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day wherever you are. Stay safe like always, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.